Welcome back, everybody, to Catching You. I'm your co-host, Rusty Ham. With me, my beautiful daughter, Lacie. Lacie, say hi.
Hi.
There's a little delay. You're in Puerto Rico, so the internet's not doing so well. So there's going to be a little delay sometimes.
Thanks.
Yeah, so with us, we have a very special guest, Keirstin Roose, played at Coastal Carolina, is now transferring to Georgia. Welcome, Keirstin. How are you?
Hello, guys. How are you doing?
Good, good.
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah. So let's get into again, you're doing great as far as these segues because every time you say something, it segues into what I wanted to talk about next, which is the recruiting. We talked about how when you were, I think it was an eighth grader, there was no rules. I think there was a sixth grader that committed to Florida one time. I don't know if you remember that.
Was it? Why am I blanking right now?
She's
Keegan
down.
Rothrock?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, just
She
sixth grader.
was, I
Yeah.
remember she was the pitcher for the catcher. I played with a catcher who ended up committing to Northwestern in like eighth grade around the same time. And then she decided to go to Michigan. I don't know if Lily Valamont, but she's a catcher at Michigan right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was crazy. We were just like, sixth grade, what's going on over here? But then they changed it your freshman year, you and Lacey's freshman year. And you said so describe the recruiting. You committed September 1st. Now, Lacey tells the story all the time because she played for the Orange County Busbusters. We thought September 1st she was going to get a ton of calls. She didn't get one call. And she was devastated. And you talked about it too. Hey, if you're not going to get a call, don't worry about it. And we've had Coach Greg on from Athletics Mercado, and there's the elite players are going to get calls, and they're going to get multiple calls. Then you have the middle of the ground where I'm not sure where you fit with that, and then you got the girls that don't get any who maybe were expecting some calls, and it was devastating for her. Again, the highest recruiting point for her, she was injured. She had that head injury. She was in the hospital for most of the summer, so she couldn't get those looks that the normal girls would get. Describe the recruiting, because a lot of the little girls that are listening to this are probably in that mode, right? They're in the recruiting mode where they're probably eighth graders right now, or they're freshmen or sophomores. So describe that, how that went for you.
I had my eyes set on one school. I thought I was going to IU. Like, I had been going to camps and stuff, and they had come and they traveled like 4.5 hours, watched my basketball game in sectionals. They watched my softball game, and I was dead set on IU. And I went to a game there, and one of their players was like, "Coach says you'd look good in crimson and white." And oh, like that made me feel good. And September 1st comes, and I feel like I got a call from everyone but IU. Everyone else that I had been like, I got a call from Hutch, or I think it was Thole actually who called me. I'm from Kentucky, like this other Midwest schools that I was looking at, and then IU wasn't one of them. And I was like, dang, like this was the one I was banking on, and I thought maybe they were just holding off. Got a call from Coastal, and I'd only gone on one visit before Coastal, yeah, because one of them was a part of the camps. One unofficial before Coastal, one unofficial to Coastal, and canceled my other visits after that because Coastal was it. But
The palm trees got you, huh?
the palm trees really did get me. But I'd say, like, where you're talking about the elite, whatever, I feel like I was probably at the time mediocre at best, but I was in a very small sample size because I was from the Midwest, so I stood out. If I was in California, I'd probably be in the same place Lacey was. And yeah, the recruiting thing is so annoying. But for girls that are going through it and say September 1st comes and you don't get a call, you have to just trust the process because like it worked out for Lacey, and everyone has such a different story, and it always ends up working out the way that it's meant to. It may not feel like the right thing, or it may not feel like your plan, but it is a part of a plan. Like it's everything works out the way it's meant to be. I'm a firm believer in that. And it's just I had to go through that again with transferring this year, is just trusting the process. I went into the portal and didn't get any contacts at first. And I came off of shoulder surgery, and Lacey, she came off of missing that big recruiting season. And I, luckily, I am older and more mature, and I could understand. I'm like, one, coaches aren't recruiting right now for the transfer portal. Two, I can't sell my potential. I know I'm going to be better this year, but I can't sell a promise to someone. I have to go and show it. So that's just speaking to, if say there are girls listening to this and you don't get a call or it doesn't happen as fast as you want it to, it just go out and ball out, because stats don't lie, effort doesn't lie. And a lot of times I feel like a coach can go and just watch a kid and see that they're legit. Like the work ethic, the attitude, it stands out. So there's no reason to give up. The feelings are valid. You're going to feel upset and hurt and like you don't belong there, and you might get some imposter syndrome, but it's we've all been there. You just got to keep balling out and it'll work out the way it's meant to.
Yeah, I always when I want to coach, it's attitude and effort. That's all I wanted. All I wanted is I want a great attitude, and I want your best effort. And that was IU. I'm assuming is Indiana University. Is that
Yeah.
okay? I just want to make sure for everybody. You kept saying that. And
Forget their
then
other eyes.
yeah, and you mentioned something that we struggled with, which and it hindered us. As a matter of fact, we trusted the process. We're like I keep talking about. We were Orange County bat busters, and we were supposed to trust the process. If you stay with us, then you're gonna get recruited. She played for Mike Stith and Orange County bat busters, and we thought that was our golden ticket. We were gonna go. We were Power 5 school, no matter what. But she's only throwing 58, 59, and there's looking back, retrospect. There's no way she's going to get recruited at 59, 60 miles per hour. You got to be throwing mid 60s as a freshman if you're just going to get snipped by a Power 5, right? But we weren't realistic. We trusted the process because we thought, oh, we're going to be Orange County bat versus we're set. And again, crickets, September 1st, right? So then we had to reevaluate because we were trusting the process. We thought we were, but it didn't work out. So we switched teams and went to Athletics Mercado. And right away, the coach is making calls for her, right? Where Orange County Batbusters, they don't do that. They don't make calls for you. They just coaches go to them. You don't go to the coaches, right? So it's a reverse for them, or it was for us. And so we started making calls. All of a sudden, she gets, and I think you would appreciate it. This is why your paths are similar. She got a recruiting trip to North Carolina. Out there and spent some time there. I think episode 5, you talked about how great the campus was. We loved it. We fell in love with it right away. And then COVID hit and they ghosted her, right? Because they were going to come out to her high school games and watch her play. And then COVID hit and then they didn't come out anymore. And then they just ghosted her. They weren't interested anymore. I don't know what happened, but like you said, things happen for a reason. When she got recruited at San Jose State, the coach got fired. A new coach came in. All these girls left because they were like supporting the old coach. And so all this money opened up for San Jose State. And then she got recruited. It was just all the planets aligned. So I guess we did trust the process. We just needed to have a gut check and make that decision. Very cool. So now you're getting I want to hear your diabetes story because to me, you think of diabetes, there's probably some sort of stigma or a stereotype, right? That you have to be a huge person that smokes, drinks, is a super unfit.
And you're describing me really well.
Yeah, no, I'm describing the opposite because I've seen some of your TikToks and how people think that you're
like I'm on steroids.
Yeah, you're on steroids or it's Photoshop.
The accusation's coming.
Yeah. But describe that because again, it is a stigma. I think personally, I think it's a stigma. I think people think that if you have diabetes, you're just super unhealthy and you're fat, but you're not. You're the complete opposite. So describe that, how that mentally, how that felt, and then physically, what are the things you have to do to compensate for that?
Yeah, so I love educating on diabetes because I think it's just a common misunderstanding that everyone has. I had it before getting diagnosed. I'd learned about diabetes on a cellular level in like college, but never the lifestyle, never like the difference between type 1 and 2 other than on a cellular level. And so I love educating about this. So there are 2 different types, type 1, type 2. I'm type 1, where it's a autoimmune disease. It's genetic basically, and it just hits you. It's where your pancreas, it stops producing insulin type 2, basically it's a lifestyle thing. You eat away your problems or whatever and you don't work out as much. Like it's type 2 is something that you can get by your actions. Type 1, you can't get it. You can't avoid it. So they thought that cortisone shots set it off because I didn't realize I had family history of it. But I remember sitting there and I went into student health. It was 2 weeks after my shoulder surgery. And I was in there. I listed my symptoms. My symptoms were I was so thirsty all the time. Like my lips were so chapped all the time. I was just chugging water. I have my 50-ounce water that I always drink, and I was just drinking through it. And then I had to go to the bathroom all the time because I was just water straight through me. And then the bigger symptoms, I would have eye problems. Like I would have floaters in my eyes to the point where I couldn't really, like if I was looking at my computer screen, I couldn't read what was on the computer screen. I remember calling my dad in the library one day. I was like, I can't see my screen. And we have the same health issues. We're usually the same. He gives me allergies. I have them right now, and that's why I sound stuffy. Like, thankfully, I get everything from him. So I'm like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with us? He's, oh, you probably got low blood sugar because he has like low blood sugar issues. He's not diabetic, but sometimes he'll just need a Snickers. So he's like, go get a Snickers. I'm like, okay, Betty White over here. Tried to walk up to not the concession stand, but the vending machine in the library. Got a candy bar, ate it, didn't go away. Turns out my blood sugar was really high at that point, so eating the Snickers only made it higher.
Worse, yeah.
But then the other thing was I lost 17 pounds from January to February, and that was leading into season. And I was pounding the protein, pounding the food. I was really trying to not bulk up, but stay strong before season and just all those things. So I'm in student health center. She pricks my finger and she's like, yeah, your blood sugar is like 512. And she sounds shocked. And I'm like, I don't know what a normal blood sugar is. Turns out normal blood sugar is 80 to 100.
Jeez.
500, and apparently 500 and up, like 600, that's when you can start going into a coma.
Oh, no.
It's very dangerous. Or I don't know. I haven't been that high and I need to refresh on my knowledge. But anyway, it was crazy. And then she's like, yeah, you're diabetic. I'm like, how can you just tell me that based on one test? She's like, no, you're diabetic. And looking at me, she's like, you're most likely type 1. You need to go to the hospital. I'm like, what? She's like, you can't drive because I'd actually passed out that morning. It wasn't diabetes related. Sometimes when I stand up too quickly, I'll just black out. I've done it since I was a kid. But she was like, have you passed out today? And I'm like, actually, yeah, I have. But like, I don't think this was related. So my trainer had to come get me, drive me to the hospital. I was there all day, didn't eat. I was starving. I had an IV going through me at all times. So it was actually an awful experience. And it wasn't in a very good hospital. And the nurses weren't very good. But long story short, I made it out alive.
So type 2 is what I was describing earlier, but type 1.
And that's what a lot of people think
Yeah.
all diabetes is. And so I try to kind of educate people. And I'm not judgmental of people thinking that because I thought it too. Like, we're all there.
Okay, so what steps do you have to do then as far as type 1 and keeping those levels at the 80 to 100? What do you have to do?
Yeah, so I have 2 devices that are on me. One device checks my blood sugar, and the other device, it inserts insulin into me. So the blood sugar one, I have a wire that's in me, and I change it every 10 days. And then I don't even know where my Omnipod is right now. Oh, it's on my stomach. The insulin, I change it every 3 days, and it's like a tube that's in me at all times. And so it's just an initial poke when I put it on. And then I don't really feel it otherwise, unless, I'm sleeping on my stomach and I can feel the device on me and so I basically have to, it's nice because I have these devices. If I didn't have the devices, I'd have to constantly prick my finger and then inject insulin like with a needle. But technology is amazing and I'm so here for the advancements. I want them to keep advancing. But it's just changed my lifestyle for sure because I had to make so many more decisions in a day of what to eat and how many units of insulin to take per gram of carb. There's a lot of math involved. Thankfully, the devices help me do that, but I still have to count carbs. And originally, I thought I wasn't going to be able to eat carbs. And I'm like, I'm an athlete. I need carbs. I'm an exercise science major. I know how important carbs are for fueling athletes. And I even had a nurse tell me that when I was getting diagnosed. I'm like, what? And then my endocrinologist, no. And my boyfriend's a dietitian. He's like, no, you don't have to not eat carbs. You just have to take insulin for them. So I can basically eat normal, work out normal. Everything's normal. I just have to account for diabetes. And sometimes when my blood sugar's low, I have to take a step out. I have to go get some sugar. It's happened at practice more times than I can count. There was one practice, it was really bad. I started like hyperventilating because I was like trying to take infield, and my blood sugar was low. My coach was there behind me because she had my phone, because she asked me, because she saw I was struggling, and she's like, "Are you good?" And I'm like, "I think I'm low," but I was out of range, so I couldn't tell my blood sugar. She brought my phone over, and then she's, "Oh yeah, you're low." And I'm like, "But let me like continue to take reps. Like I'll be good. We're almost done with this drill." And she's like, "No, I think you need to stop." And I'm like, let's just finish this drill." And I'm then at this point, I feel like I'm like gonna cry for some reason because my emotions get all out of whack when I'm low. And then when you start to cry, you choke up and trying to breathe through that. And I'm
Jeez.
running across the field. Oh my gosh. I was like, I almost hyperventilated, and then got some sugar and I was good.
There you go.
It's just so crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, you gotta. And you said things happen for a reason. You had a great quote: when things that you think go wrong actually turn into things that are right. So that just going to the nurse when you're in the library and just finding out, that was huge, right? Because if you didn't do that, who knows? Who
Yeah,
knows?
I'm so thankful I did not go into the hospital for something bad happening.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's get to what's on everybody's mind these days, which is the transfer portal.
Nah,
We've talked about stereotype. I wouldn't say stereotype, but misconceptions. I had the same misconceptions because you girls transfer for whatever reason. Back in the day, you had to show proof
yeah,
why you're doing it. And they
it was
just,
a lot harder.
yeah, it's a lot harder to transfer now. It's just, and then people, oh, the coach said a bad word to me, so I'm going to go into transfer. I think that's a lot of people's misconception, is that they think they had a bad experience with the coach, so they're gone. Yours is a little different. And you said in one of your podcasts that you couldn't, there was nobody else that did it, so you couldn't like reach out to them maybe and say, hey, how did you guys do this, or how did you navigate through this? But talk about the transfer portal. It's a great story because you're playing and you enter the transfer portal, which not a lot of people do, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Yeah, we've talked about how Coastal Carolina was supportive of that. It wasn't like you're leaving because of them; it's because of academics, actually. But so talk about that. And I love the recruiting story where you went to different schools and then you
Oh
ended
my
up
gosh.
and against them.
It's so crazy to think about.
Yeah,
When you're in it, you're in it. But
yeah.
thinking back, I'm like, dang, that's crazy. Yeah. So I didn't even think I was going to enter the portal in season, because I knew when I redshirted junior year that I was going to have to find a different place for my 5th year. And I just didn't really think about it because I just wanted to think about Coastal. And then the fall, I think I was talking to compliance about, I'm like, I don't even know how to go about this. What's the process? And she's like, oh, there's actually a window if you want to like join. Enter now. This is October, I think. I'm going in to the portal now. And I talked to Coach Green about it. I'm like, I don't even know if this is like a thing. Do people do this? I don't know. Will I get recruited? I don't know. And I mean, it was nice because our coaches have dealt with the transfer portal, so they know about it on a coaching side, and so they could help me out. And they also gave me like tips on what to do and what not. It was funny in the beginning. I was actually looking at a D2, and I was thinking about going on a visit there, and I was like interested because they had a 1 year exercise science program, and I also had no clue who was going to contact me. I was like, this might be the best offer I get, and I think they only offered like 70% too. So I was like, who knows? I don't know.
It's FOMO, right? You're fear of missing out. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
you're gonna miss out.
it was far from the best offer I got, but I had no clue at that point because I'm like, I haven't played a season. People aren't going to recruit me based off of my past stats because they're crap, but like, I'm not spectacular in any area, and I can't sell the potential of me being good. Although I had a very good feeling that I was going to be good, because ever since being on insulin and being healthy, like I'm throwing harder than I've ever thrown. I finally hit 70 overhand, which was harder than I threw before surgery. I hit a 300 squat, stronger. My max before that was like 225. I was just so much stronger. I've hit, I think my exit velo was at 79. I was trying to hit 80. And it was just like everything was so much better. I'm faster on the bases. I'm like, it's going to be a good year. But I had to just really, it was hard because my mind, I love to be future thinking and I love to prepare for things. I don't want to be blindsided. I'm very type A, but I had to counter that so much and almost lean into a type B personality where I had to just let go. I had to focus on this season because it was my senior year with my friends, and I like the most fun team I've been on so far. We had an awesome group this year. And it was nice to finally be a leader, or like an older leader. I'd always been a leader, but I actually had the age seniority, and we could set the precedents of how we wanted things to be and the standards that we wanted, and also back it up with our actions, because previously there had been some leaders who didn't always do the best things. So it was just nice to have that for once. So I was like really excited for this season, but I had to think about the future too. And I had no clue how to go about it. So I just been talking to the coaches the whole time. And like I said, I ended up going on a visit to Purdue over Christmas break, and that was my first one, and I loved it. I was like, yeah, and I'll be closer to home. But they never offered me, and had they offered me and put a deadline on it, I probably would have accepted it, not knowing what I could have gotten. Because Purdue's good too, and like I said, near home, which is awesome. But ended up going through season, played really well against North Carolina, South Carolina, ended up going on visits there. It was funny. North Carolina actually had like a double and a triple. And then I was at second throwing to first and overthrew the ball. This was me. I was practicing turning a double play in between innings. Chucked it like full force, 70 miles per hour, straight into the head coach's chest on North Carolina.
Oh,
And I was like, oh my gosh. Because at that point, I'd been thinking, like, oh, I had a good game. Maybe I'll email them. I hit her and I'm like, there goes all my chances. I could never do that anymore. And I felt so bad. Like I apologized immediately. Like, between innings, I went over and I'm like, I'm so sorry. After the game, I said sorry again. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
for me.
And then I went on a visit there. Goes to show accidents happen. Yeah. But it was just crazy going on visits. And I wasn't even going to go on the Georgia visit because I had pretty much committed in my head to South Carolina. I loved everything about them. And I still do. Oh my gosh, I respect them so much. It was such a hard decision to make, but it was a great problem to have to make that decision between South Carolina and Georgia. Two great coaching staffs, great programs, SEC. It was just awesome. And it was so hard though, because the drive back from Georgia, I was just contemplating everything and talking to people, and I almost wanted someone else to make the decision for me. I'm like, I don't even know what I want anymore. But
Well, and
ultimately,
you talked about it earlier, which is having open and honest communication, which is what you were with South Carolina. You said, hey, you didn't commit to them, but you're like, hey, I'm going on these visits, but you're my first choice, right? So you're not playing both hands, but you were honest with them. I want to come here for sure, but let me do my due diligence. Let me go to so Georgia. You went to Georgia, and it's not necessarily because South Carolina didn't offer exercise science as a major.
no, they did. They had their masters, but Georgia had biomechanics, which was specifically what I wanted to do.
That's right. I remember you saying that because I was a kinesiology major in college, and I had to take biomechanics, and I failed it. I failed it. I had to retake
Well,
it.
we all have our things.
But yeah, very cool. So let's end it here with you have a podcast. You talked about throwing 70, and I love the story why you calling it like a girl, because the guy could barely throw it over the fence.
Yeah.
But you have a podcast called Like a Girl, and that's why I wanted to have you on, because I want to promote a podcast like yours, right? Because you're talking to these little 8, 9, 10-year-olds that are going to go through this process, which you did and which Lacie did. And so that's why I wanted to have you on, because I want people to start listening, because you have a great story. And I think you made a pivot. I think from episode 4 to 5, you made a pivot talking about stuff around the dirt. I think because your first few episodes, you were just like, oh, this and this. I don't know. Talk about that kind of that switch, because I sensed it where between episode 4 and 5 there was a lag between episodes.
Yeah.
And episode 5, you're like, hey, this is what I'm going to do now. So talk about that, and describe your podcast and why you started it.
Yeah, so basically around New Year's, I got really inspired to start a podcast. I've always wanted to do like a TED Talk or write a book, or I have those goals. But I was like, let me start a podcast. Everyone's doing it. It's something I can easily do. And I love yapping away. And I was like, and it'll supplement my social media stuff so I can put the word out there. And that was like the outside of it. But the inside, the greater meaning of the podcast is we were all little girls once who have been insecure and didn't know their worth and just don't know what to do. And I want to help bridge that gap. And help give young athletes guidance and also permission to just be strong and be awesome, because a lot of times we are told and instructed to just be little and be small in this world. And especially as women, strong women sometimes intimidate people. And I just want to give girls, especially like I have three younger sisters, my goal for them, I just want to see them step into their power and just know how awesome they can be and how much of a difference they can make despite their gender. I hate when people think I'm lesser than because I'm a girl, but I also love it because I love proving people wrong. And it's cool to finally step into that for yourself, gain such a confidence through playing sports and softball and whatnot. So that's the goal of the podcast, is to help girls get there, but they ultimately have to get there themselves. My part in this is to just help give the information and the permission too, because sometimes we feel like we need permission. And so I'm over here, I'm like, do it. But yeah, there was a bit of a switch in that time. I took a month or two off because I was just grinding and going on visits. I had no off days. And I think that was just me realizing I didn't realize people actually really cared about my story as much. And so I added that dirty details segment in there where it's like, hey, here's a rundown of what's been happening in my life and why I've been gone so long. And so people I find are actually interested in my story because it's always cool to hear other people's stories to see how people got there. And so being in season, I didn't realize how unique it was until after, when I'm looking back and I'm like, dang, that kind of cool. Very stressful time, but cool. But yeah, that was why I added that.
I'm glad you're doing it. It's hopefully the young girls that are listening to this are going to subscribe and listen to your story, because it is a great story. I appreciate it. If they want to see you on social media, where could they find you? Give me some.
Everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, both the same. It's Keirstin.Roose. So it's my name with a dot in between. And yeah, like a girl underscore pod on Instagram. That's the podcast account. And yeah, find Like a Girl on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
There you go. Yeah, I'll put it in our show notes so people can.
The spelling's always hard.
Very cool. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thanks you for telling your story. Really appreciate it. I'm sorry Lace couldn't be here. She's in Puerto Rico, and I guess the internet is not, the Wi-Fi is not on her side, but I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I liked hearing about Lacey's story through you. I wish she would have been here, but I understand the Puerto Rican Wi-Fi might not be so great.
Yeah, catch a couple of our episodes, because I would say the first 20 episodes are just of increments of her, like rec ball and then all stars, and so we go through all that kind of stuff. So
Well, that's awesome.
again, but again, I appreciate you coming on, and good luck in Georgia. Oh, you didn't tell that story. Let's tell that story real quick. So you're at Coastal Carolina and you go on a recruiting trip to
Oh
Georgia.
my gosh,
You get
yeah.
to Georgia, and then we were about to end, but I want to hear this. I want everybody to hear this story. So you're right. The TV's on. The team is waiting to see who they're going to play, because you guys won your conference, right? Did you have to win your
We did.
conference to get in, or were you?
We were on the border. We were a bubble team where we weren't sure if we didn't win conference, if we were going to get in, but we had a chance with our RPI.
Yeah. Okay. So you're sitting there, and the team's waiting on ESPN or whatever it was, and who do you get matched
Yeah.
up with?
Yeah, so I commit to Georgia, and then all of a sudden, Georgia pops up on the screen in the bracket, and we're playing them first game in regionals, in the Duke Regional. Yeah, that was crazy. It's funny, the coach kind of called it. He, on the phone a month earlier, was like, I saw something. I think D1 Softball posted a prediction that we might end up in the same regional. We'll tackle that if we get there, but hopefully not. You guys keep winning games, we'll win games, and we'll avoid that. And then it's funny because we were watching the whole selection show, and in my head, I have a bank of the teams left. And I'm like, we're watching, and Coastal Carolina, we're like, all right, we're in the Duke Regional. And I just had a feeling, like, I knew it was going to be them. I had a feeling, and it was Georgia. We're all like, and everyone's like, Kirstin. No, actually, I was pretty excited about it. I thought it was cool, and it adds to the plot. And oh my gosh, I didn't think I was nervous until the day of, when I felt like I was going to throw up. And I'm like, okay, I'm nervous. I ended up playing good. It was cool to see the coaches there and see everyone doing their thing in person. And yeah, I made a good play on the field, I remember, and our strength coach told me afterwards, he's like, "Oh, their coach JT was clapping for you on that play." And I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." But yeah, basically everyone on their team knew and everyone on my team knew, just not a lot of the public knew, because that was why I didn't want to announce originally. Was I was like, I do not need this extra pressure of Kirstin's going to go play for Georgia. I wonder how she performs in this game against Georgia. And there was already a lot of that pressure in my head, but I did not need that from the public. And then I wasn't even going to commit until Georgia's season was over, but there was just, he had requested it for just other commit reasons, and
Right.
it was just
Yeah, it's
timing.
pretty cool because you also went on a recruiter trip to Duke, so you're in that bracket. And then you played Howard. Lacey's team played Howard, and we run rolled them. Lacie pitched. Yeah, Lacie pitched, I think, a 3-hitter or something like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, against Howard. So that's cool that you guys were able to that another connection between you and Lacie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get that in there because you described that in episode 7. So if you're listening to this, go to episode 7 of The Girl. She goes more into detail of it, so it's pretty cool. But again, thank you for coming on, and good luck in Georgia.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.